Good morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. For the YouTube viewers, this will be free for you guys for the entire week. So please share it if you like it. I hope you're following what we're doing and you're understanding, at least getting some help from patterns and what they do, right? So let's go. Let's start. Dollar index, it's still in the consolidation. It didn't come down the way I expected. Well, it didn't come down as far as we expected to come down, which is breaking this low. And if it doesn't break the low, then there are two possible scenario that could develop. One, you consider this a contracting flat and this one goes break the top. But all contracting flats can in the future become running flats, which means if we don't look at it as a contracting flat, this goes up, pull back again like this, we would probably look at this as a running flat inside of another possible running flat before it goes. Right? Those are the two possible scenarios right now from what we have that could happen. So yesterday there was one, make a possible flat and go up. Today there are two, make two possible running flats, then go, right? That's the option. This could also be, well, I don't think this is all the correction in here. So I'm not looking at a single up move and a single down move, but if that happens, that'd be okay. We will go with this as a running flat as well, right? Because likely it's going to break that up. This up move will break the top, then come back here and go. So today there's no trade set up right now. I don't think there's any trade. There's a short buy setup. I don't think it's a very good idea since we didn't break the low to take the buy. If you do think it's a contracting flat and you have the skill level to get out before it comes back down, might be worth it. Now that's a skill level we normally would have in our trading room, but I don't think the general public and YouTube would probably do that. So let's go. Silver, we're looking for the buy, and if you were there and if you kept the trade, what time was this? That was pretty late, but it doesn't matter. If it tagged you, it means you might have got tagged in that trade because we're looking for a 1, 2, 3. It did make a 1, 2, 3, but then it starts to come down. When you see this, your stop is here, your trade is there. When you see this, you know it's going to go lower, right? We know that this is going to go lower. So could this be all you get 1, 2, 3 instead of going higher? Possible. Remember, we didn't break the low. So when you see this, this is where you start to look for your exit strategy. You don't wait for it to come to the stop. You close the trade for a small loss there, and then we can even look for a sell setup here. Right, the sell would be a better trade. So put it in a 15. Let me just go make sure we get that. Yep. You're only tagged for 2 hours, so I don't think there was an exit in it. But what we can look for is wait to see whether this is starting to break out. And go with a sell under the low, because that could be all you get for a flat. Right? This could be all you get for 1, 2, 3, and they jump. They go down, right? It didn't go as high as we expected to go. So if any one of you took the trade, you want to close the trade here. I hope you did already, or let it go up a little more, close it. Definitely put a stop here. And we're looking for a sell setup at that point. So if this drops, we're likely going to break this low. Right? We will go with this as a single flat and downside. Gold, we didn't take any trade. We were expecting it to come down. It went a little higher. It is still coming down. So if you're in the trade, that's good. Probably would have got in somewhere here. Let me go on the hourly, see. Yeah, there was a small hourly flag at this level here. Could have got in there. You can still put an entry order. It's going down really slow, but putting an entry order here is not a bad idea. If it still goes down as slow as we, expected, which means if they still go like this, eventually you can come out for break even. At some point from breaking this low, we're going to go back up. There's a likelihood of the upside starting. So if you're taking the sell on this, assume that it will go like this, right? See, they had a pullback there, a pullback here, a pullback there, a few pullback before it dropped, and then go back up. I think this could be the final drop because silver is very close all to the low. Sorry, take that, put that back where it was. Right. Silver is very close to the low, not very far for this to go. And gold, dollar index is, well, it's at the top. It just needs to break that up once more. If it's a contracting flat, we'll finish by breaking that up today. Let's see this. Okay. This would likely go back up and then drop. Although gold is going down, I think this might be a Aussie move to the top here and then go down. But you have to make sure you get a good correction there, right? Before you go with the trade. Or put an entry above this stop if they take off. So an entry here for the up move is not a bad idea. Right, for the next up move. I think we broke that low already. So if this takes off to break the top, that is this move up, that'd be a good trade. Euro. It didn't break the top. It did what we expected, but it didn't break the top. So they actually went up very sharp. So the only question now, again, just like the dollar index, is it a contracting flat? If it is a contracting flat, this sell would be a good idea. But if it is not a contracting flat, then we're stuck in a big sideways move here. I don't know whether we look at this as the running flat, come back here, go back up there, and then come down. So I think I'll be very careful of the euro sell inside of the corrective structure, inside of the correction itself. Simply because with all these sharp waves in here, that possibility of this being something like this is there, right? We can always make an argument for this one, and this one being that, right? You can go with, you know, you have one here, but you also have one here, and you also have one here. So there's a series of them that, you know, you can, with all of those, if you try to make patterns, the possibilities you can find that. As long as we haven't broken that up, we have to be cautious on the sell. Here's what I would probably do. I'd let it break the low and then make a flag, and then we will go with the sell. Right, then we'll go for the sell, and then we know there's a move to come and break this low. Pound. They all went up, but they didn't go where we expect them to go. Pound is still pretty much in the correction, right? So this is pretty much in the correction, which means this should still go back up and make a flat. I don't see the sell setup. This doesn't even look like a contracting flat. So we'll have to exclude any contracting flat here. Aussie, it didn't drop the way we thought it would drop, but it's still going sideways. See? It didn't drop immediately. Like I thought this would probably drop straight. It didn't, but you're making another consolidation here, which could be the one that dropped, or we might just be stuck here for a longer period of time. Come here, go back there, and then actually come down. I don't think we're trying to make an up move as yet. Right? It's not consolidating like the move to the upside. Now the sell on this would be a little risky one now. Yesterday was a safer sell. This would be a pretty risky sell. Simply because it's all back into the consolidation at the top there. So we'll keep an eye on it. If we get a better sell setup, we'll take the trade. New Zealand, well, this is going good. It also didn't break the top. It didn't go anywhere there. So we would allow this to be a contracting flat. Let's assume this is a contracting flat. You can let it happen and let it break the low. Don't sell it. We want the reversal of the New Zealand. We want this to finish what it's doing and reverse. The buy would be a better idea. Swiss, well, it went up back, so we'll have to look for some running flat somewhere. I think we'll find one somewhere. We don't have any right now. And I think we could make an argument. I think this is a smaller one here, so I wouldn't go with that one. Maybe we come back somewhere here. Maybe they, you know, it comes there, go back, then come in somewhere in the future, we're going to have a running flat there. That's the only option I see. Because yesterday we were waiting for a flag to sell. And this is why it's important to wait for the flag to sell. No flag, no sell. That's the problem. So we'll wait. I'm still not interested in the buy on that. We'll buy anything else. If you sold this, you close it. There was enough time to close it. There's still time to close it for break even. So let's assume that's a break even trade. Take it off. I think that's clearly a break even trade by all our rules. Because even if you put it on the hourly, you can see that that thing stayed there for like 10 hours. All right. So right now it's going back up, but let's see what happens here. If this goes back up like this, I'll still go with a running flat. Unless we get a flag somewhere here that says buy. If it starts to drop, we'll put an entry here. So it still looks, we know that it could go and break that up, right? It could go up a little. It doesn't necessarily have to, but we know that once you break this top, it's pretty okay. Right? Because on the big picture, there's no need to go and break that up. Well, no, there is a need to go break that up. This is the impulse here. So yeah, we should go break that up. It's probably going to go up. Let's see if we get the upside. If this is the start of the up move, you want a flag in it. So what we want this to do is go here, make a flag, and we'll look for that trade. Right? If it is not, it will come here, drop again, and then we'll go with the running flat there. One more drop and then upside. So we'll decide if we're going to take the drop. Yen still stayed, it's still where it is. And now we can make an argument of whether we want to look at this as a 1, 2, 3 for this piece to finish, which means this should go back up to this top break that up there, and then come back down. I think yen will probably stay here. It's not going to make big moves. It's going to make really, really small moves because most of the pairs are finishing off. They need like a final impulse to finish off a bigger correction, right? The dollar index, the euro, Aussie, New Zealand already completed it. So just a few more, right? But they can make that one more impulse. And once those big moves are finished, then there's a turning point. We know that yen already finished the big move, which means it has already fulfilled the criteria for ending it. It can still go one more up, but that doesn't change the structure. That just means the final impulse is a little bigger to the upside, and then it's going to drop. So could it be that this is just a consolidation that will happen here until everything is finished and then it turns? That is a possibility. So we'll keep that possibility in mind, especially if this comes back lower here. If instead of going up, this thing works its way down back lower to this level and they keep doing this, right? We know that at some point it's going to do that and we're going to drop. So we keep track of this piece, see what's happening here. You're in New Zealand? Okay, it didn't break the top and it's kind of making a flat here. So that is not a good idea. Let's go to the 15, right? We didn't break the top, so you probably shouldn't be in that trade. If you got tagged in it, you probably would close it already somewhere in here. You're not keeping it. And it's coming back very similar to this, to the downside, which means probably they're making another flat. It looks like it's going to turn to the downside. If they do that, you do have a lot of divergence. So take the buy off. If you want to buy, you have to buy here. Right? You buy here. When it breaks the top, if and when it breaks the stop, put it to break even. It's either that means they're going to go or they're going to come right back down. Right? Because you have a flat here, you're getting a flat here. That's not a good sign when you're getting so many flats into each other. And it's not quite a running flat pattern we were expecting. But put the entry order, we'll see. EuroCAD. Didn't break out, come back deeper. For those of you who were in the trade from here, well, the worst case is a break-even trade, right? Because if you were in from here or if you were in from here, it pulled back like this, right? You literally would close the trade or you would close the trade somewhere here. So whichever place you're in from, you either got a small profit or a very small loss. It pulled back. So I think we'll still see the upside. We're just going to make a bigger consolidation here before we go. Right? So anticipate that the consolidation is getting bigger. I don't think we're turning to the downside as yet. Looks more like a bigger consolidation. If it comes deeper, if it does consolidate and come deeper, which means if you get this and you kind of, drop, well, then it will be a big flat. For now, it's still upside. Euro Swiss. Okay, this is coming down. Still is a correction. It's coming down, but that still is a correction, pretty much like this one. Okay. This came down, but that was a correction in this. So this is a correction down. We can look for a buy setup here. There's one trade up, and then we'll see where that takes us. It's going to be short term because the bigger picture is downside. Euro Oz. We can look for a buy here. Because it's consolidating for the upside. This is a buy if it stays at this level. If this comes lower, then any up move would become a sell. Right? So if it comes lower, we'll look for a flat pattern. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll look for a sell setup. But if it goes up from here for the next impulse, that could be a buy to break this stop. Right? That probably even break this stop. So let's wait and see which one it is. Euro yen. Okay, this is not ready for the upside. It's not ready for the downside. It's just going sideways. And this looks a little down here, this piece. Looks a little down here, but it's not really a big sell setup. So I think we stay out of it. Just wait some more here. Euro pound. Same here. I'm expecting a downside, but this is still consolidating for the upside, right? You got a flat here. You're still making one more up. So we don't have the sell setup in this. Right? We don't have any sell setup in there as yet. It should come down back. We just have to wait for the sell setup. Right? We don't have any right now. Bounces. Okay, if you bought, you close that. Too many hours there. Literally, you close it. It should be there. We're about 1, 2, 3, or you close it somewhere here, right? So you either close it on this one going down, or you closed it here, right? There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of hours to close, right? So that's not, never allow it to come back to the stop loss. It's likely going to go back up, but this might be a bigger correction. See, this was a smaller version of that correction. It looks like we're going to get a bigger correction here, which is this making a correction of its own, coming back down here, and then maybe go. If this is consolidating inside of these two. So that is likely going to be something like that. We don't have any sell set up. If it's consolidating for the sell, if this comes lower here and we go back like that and we're going to get a sell set up, it will have to go back up first, and then we'll consider if we want that sell. It's possible it could be a sell. Pangos. Okay, this one didn't go. We're looking at this small running flat here. This small running flat, 1, 2, 3 for this to go up. It didn't go, it actually came down more. You can put it like this, take that off. Well, look for a flattened downside. Take that off, right? There's a good chance this would probably still go back up one more, make a flat. And then we're gonna get one more down. What's a bigger picture in this? Well, not a big move down, right? If that happens, even if that happens, even if they come here and they come back here, it's probably will still go back there because this is sharp and we don't have anything to go with that. Right, so it will have to go back up. I don't think we should sell this here as yet. Let's wait. Pound New Zealand. Consolidating, this is good. If this becomes the B part, we're gonna go back up there, come back here, and then we'll get a trade to the upside. Right, so if we see that, we'll look for a buy setup. Can we look for a buy setup in this range? I think it's possible if you get the flag. If you don't get the flag, you're probably just gonna go as fast as this one went, right? Just finish this move off like that, finish a flat, come back down here, and then we get a buy setup. Again, still consolidating, coming lower. Well, now it will depend on how low that comes. Right, the lowest I want to see is I just want to see it break this low and then start to go back up. If we get any flag, we'll buy. Regardless of whether this is the one that goes out or whether we become a more complex pattern, like come back to the top, come back here like this, we'll still take the buy. As long as the low is broken, we'll take the buy. We'll wait for a turn, we'll wait for an impulse and a flag, and we'll take the trade. Selling it to the downside, not a good idea. All the consolidation is still at the top part of it. So there is no sell setup there. Okay. This was the sell setup. If any one of you took this trade, you did well. So this trade was actually to trade 1, 2, 3, and then expect this to go back up. So anytime here, if you're in the trade, you have to start moving your stop. It could come all the way to the bottom, but then we'd expect one more up and then we'll go like this, right? If this was making a flag, we'll be going up. So yesterday we considered whether it's a buy. We said, let it come back here, come here, and then it becomes a buy. Remember that was a question, right? So it said, this is still the B part. Don't rush into the buy. Let it come back here. Actually, this sell was the safer one because you can see it actually dropped. So we assumed that it's going to go down, but I thought it would go higher. But this, if it didn't go higher, this was a good sell. The sell would have been from right here. Right? So if any one of you took the sell, if you take it from under here also, it's a good sell. But it's a short-term trade, very short-term. Aussie yen. Okay, it's still consolidating. Still not an impulse, so let's leave it alone and not trying to make an impulse as yet. Aussie Swiss, well, we were hoping that this would break at this level. It didn't. Take that out. There was a very small flag for if it's going to break, right? There was this very small 1, 2, 3 there, and we're thinking that, you know, if this pull back and then drop like that, that would be a trade, but instead go back up and it's still here. Probably going to come down. But if it comes down from here, there's a chance we'll get a new high. See? If it comes down there, we'll get a new high in this one. A more complex pattern, probably, we'll see. It still has to come down, so there's still a sell setup. And I'll probably still go with the sell. So where would we get it this time? Let's see. The last impulse up was this one or this one. You could go with this. I think this could be a smaller correction in the up one. Just put it here. Put it right here. And when it breaks this low, we put it to break even. Because if it drops, if this actually dropped, that would be a good trade. But if it just come here and go back up, you want to break even on that trade. Aussie, New Zealand. Probably leave this alone. Aussie CAD. Okay. So yesterday I said, if this would be a running flat for one more down, we will have to wait for it to come down, make a flag. I probably wouldn't sell this flag, but this is a sellable flag, this one here. If that breaks down, it becomes a sell. Okay, then we go with this as a running flat. One more low here, and then from this point, we can go up. So if we get this, if this works its way back to the top like this, we will wait to see whether we get this. And if we get that, yep, then any buy setup here would be the trade to the upside. This would be the first one. This would be a bigger flat than we anticipated and upside. But as of now, the running flat seems very likely. We spoke about that in the trading room before I left yesterday, so I hope you guys were paying attention to that one. New Zealand Swiss didn't drop, go back up, take this off. Seems to be making just a bigger flat here, pretty much like this one. You see they drop halfway, go back, come, you got a running flat. So it's coming down, but it'll probably be a running flat, right? So you can go for this trade here if you want to about here, and then you would expect this to go back up for another running flat. Similar to this, see this one here? It dropped down and then go back up. It actually dropped, made 2-1 and then go back up. So you got this, you got that, you go 1, 2, 3, and then you go back. We didn't break the low, we didn't break the low here. So the assumption is they can be making another running flat. Worth taking, by the way. If you get a flag before the entry order here, it's better to use the flag. New Zealand CAD. Well, you just have to let this finish. Yesterday we spoke about this in trading. We just have to let it finish what it's doing and then wait for the turn. Because trading in this range here is almost impossible. It's gonna do this and do that. So selling here is not a good idea. And the bigger picture, we're at the very, very bottom of a very big correction. See, we're at the bottom of a huge correction. At least we broke that low. So no sense trying to sell it at the bottom there. Let it finish what it's doing. And we look for the turn. See? New Zealand yen. Okay, this looks like it could go down one more. It didn't go up, so there's a high probability it's going to drop one more. Not really a sell setup. You just have to let it drop and then wait for it to go back up for a running flat now. And then we'll get the trade. Canadian. This looks like it wants to come down, but we haven't broken that top. So the higher probability is this would work its way back here. Come here and then go. And that's a bigger probability of the trade. We'll wait and see. The sell here might be, we could take it, but we'll have to manage it very, very carefully because we don't have the possibility of contracting flat in here like we had on the, I think it was the pound yen and the Swiss yen or CAD yen, one of the two of them we had. The Swiss yen probably. CAD Swiss. Slowly but surely going up. So there's a lot of running flat. You have to wait for some kind of a flag to get in the trade. And Swiss yen. Yeah, so this one finished, not running flat. But the possibility is you could still make a new high, unless we see this as a bigger correction, which means they're still coming down, right? And if they're still going down, you can move this entry now to this level. So it's still going down. I still see this possibility of making another one here. And if they break this low, that would be amazing because any up move would become the sell. Right, any up move, we'll go with a flat like this. We'll take this as the first slow move down. And that pretty much would fit into the whole structure of what we're looking at, right? If this turn now come down to the bottom here, go back up there, that would be a nice flat for downside. And Chinese yuan. Well, it came down, so great, you can look for your buy setup now, right? So the idea was for this to come down here, make a flat, running flat, and then look for the buy setup. See, pretty easy. It did come down, so now all you have to do is put an entry above the top and wait for it to take off. Basically, that's it. I don't see a lot of very good trade setups today. All the trade setups we have would be short-term trades. I think there are only one or two that might take off. We'll keep an eye on them. Hopefully by the end of the day or tomorrow, we get some very nice trades. So for my traders, I'll close the room. You guys come right back in and we will do the second part. So like 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, I'm going to come back immediately. Come back immediately and we do the second part. We record it and then we go from there. Bye.